Well, hello everyone, it's Shooter. Hey, happy Sunday, March 3rd, 2024. Hey, we're going to go over swing trade notes. Of course, at the end of our presentation, please do review our disclosures. Okay, markets are clearly getting extended. I mean, we just had this push in the S&P and it's just not slowed down. Didn't even really test the low side of trend support. We stayed about 75% to the high side. So at some point, we're going to get a back test, but I don't think we start seeing anything or any resistance until maybe 520. And really, I'm having a hard time really grasping what the driver is at the moment. I usually can see the longer term picture, but the shorter term picture is just not something that's coming to my in front of my face where I could see it. So I'm sort of indifference when that is the thought, but we clearly are still bullish. Core CPE met expectations. Nothing really bullish or bearish out of that. The dollar fell marginally off of that, about 103. Equities continued to maintain strength. They moved about just shy of 1%, for the week, about 51.32 for the S&P 500. The DAX also gained about 1.8%. So to a degree, it did a little better than the U.S. equities did at this point. So I'm, again, expecting that push in the S&P to at least 520. Now, oil became a little elevated on the Middle East, rallied about 4%. Precious metals also got a little bit of a bid, specifically gold, but silver may be the better play. But I don't have that in this week. It'll be in chat probably Tuesday. Bonds attempted to break support, but they failed, got a little rejection down there. So 10-year yields closed about 4.18%, really didn't go anywhere. 10-year bonds, marginal loss around 132,747. Cryptocurrencies continued to surge, with Bitcoin about 20% higher to about 62K for the week. And Ethereum, hit 3,400 bucks. However, there is some concern about this getting a little toppy here. However, I still expect, count tells me we should still push to 68K. And the look coming into this, I looked at futures just about 7 p.m. I see no reason why we don't continue here. So let's start off with the dollar look. Just enough to continue the strength in indices. Realize it's a tailwind right now when the dollar's declining here. So we get that, B, then we push back up for a C. So we should see a little, maybe Thursday, I would think, at least by the end of the week. So indices should cool off a little bit. So I think we run through the first half of the week, then maybe break down just a little bit. Not too much though, just enough to give us a little bit of a headwind. Looking at TLT, nice push here. I'm looking for a break of the 200-day at this point. Now what it does there, I really don't know. It's in the middle of nowhere, but I do have a primary wave set up at 92.01, and I have a half position trigger. As soon as it tags that initial breakout at the 200-day, it will flip to a full size position, and we're targeting that intermediate wave 3 just below 98, about 96.74. So I would think that we do get a little push to the upside, at least to, I don't have the trend resistance line here from our high here. So I would think we at least push that. Then really where we see what's going on is whether or not that 3 doesn't get completely rejected and we break down or we continue higher. All right, now for the picks this week, all of them are ETFs. I like the next generation because of the breakout and the extent to the 95. So we've got a nice count here. So, you could sell some, 75 cash secured puts, even do 78s if you wanted to, I would think, because your cost average should be good. We get down, plan to add at the 200-day if we break down below the breakout line. But you could also come right out and just do like 85, 90, 95 calls, go out like May, October and January, because I think this is just going to keep expanding. This specialty tech, is something that we should see some continued growth in. So I just like the overall look, the structure, everything else, and the fact that we have that primary wave up right around 95, and it could become elongated. Right now in the count, wave 1 is pretty much equal to what the count sees as wave 3. So we could push all the way up to 110 and do nothing wrong on this. So I like the upside. All right, so now just taking a brief look at the weekly chart, same look, just giving you a visual. And again, that 3 is, a little bit above there after this back test will be our primary wave 3, a little higher, about 102. Again, looking at our length. Wave 1 is fairly shallow. So, we could extend a little bit further and really do nothing wrong to the 61.8. So that's my thought. All right. Number two. Now, I like this with what's going on in the Middle East. We're getting a little heat there. Gold, oil, and a lot of commodities just started bumping in price. They're expecting that additional cost for transport and freight come hit these. So this has a great mix for me. We have the aerospace piece, right? Space, right? And we have defense in the same ETF. It's like a no-brainer. The only time I get a little concerned is about 142. So it doesn't have a great push to the upside. So I would stay fairly shallow. I would sell like 130 puts, and then I would only do like 140 calls, maybe April, maybe a few 145 in May through October, depending on what the time frames are available. Actually, I haven't looked at that for the upside yet. It'll just go on my hot sheet, and if I decide I'm going to slide into that, we will first of the week, probably by Tuesday. I don't think I'm entering anything tomorrow. I want to see what the market, but that's my daily look at XAR, and let's take a look at the weekly look. A lot of upside here. After we get this 4 here, this is the challenging part, is that 4 could bring us back to about 135, 134. But again, it's pretty euphoric to me. This was a nice push. I expect a similar length here. So, we might not pull back at all. I'm seeing that in a number of names as well. So, we're right here at that breakout line. I would at least be in a half position on this. That's just my thought. I think it's got some decent upside, especially on the defense side coming in there, which has been a little weak. A lot of flat stuff. And we have any acceleration, between Iran, et cetera. We have a lot of hot spots going on right now that potentially could flare up. Germany talking about war with Russia. There's a couple of things that could just pop that really pretty quick. All right, number 3. Now, ironically, this has a war thesis as well, but I like the chart. We're right testing the breakout line now on the daily, so we get above that. The other thing is we probably will get a back test of that 8-day once we get above that if we don't get a full breakout. Realize in a war thesis, they typically move pretty aggressively. In a war thesis, this breakout right here was the war thesis. All right, so and we've gotten a number of the pushes in oil related to and I'm forgetting the Straits of Hormuz, I think it is. And again, the hoodie or tootie or whatever that. I honestly, it's Sunday night and we just came in here and I'm not recalling much today. So, but this could push pretty quick to 94. So, XLE, we could get a nice push, very much like this. This is not the same trajectory yet, but this is pretty aggressive right here. So once we get a little back test, I would expect it to go. Now, this also happens to be one of Kirk's favorites. He thinks we are going to get a breakout in this, and I tend to agree. And let's take a look at the weekly look on that XLE. Again, right at the breakout line, looking for that 95, roughly in that area. Now, I didn't note second and third entries like I did on ARK. So, you could do that as well. Any chart that I post, as far as position size, real simple. I like force because it's easy for my mind to think. So I enter in with a quarter. If I really like it and it's moved and we got everything in the right place, very often will I start with a half a position and then I'm scaling at certain points once my alerts start firing. So from a scale in these, honestly, the XAR is probably a position trade and XLE might become a position trade, but we need 3 months of continued price growth and we need to really break above this 95 and then we need to back test it and needs to hold. And then we could have some decent upside to 110 at some point, but I'm not seeing that in the next 90 days visually. I'm looking for that 87 to 95 at this point. And that's my 2 cents. So, well, that's what I've got for this week, folks. Great trading. Until next time.